Hello and welcome to our math lesson for today. Today we're going to be in topic 9. We're going to be doing lesson 9-6. We're going to be talking about markups and markdowns. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I'll zoom in for you. There we go. All right. So we're doing markups and markdowns. So let's go ahead and start as we always do with our anticipatory set. And today what we're going to talk about is Mrs. Berry and her awesome job. So look, first of all, we need a little Mrs. Berry. So Mrs. Berry is an interior designer. So here's her. She's very happy with her interior design. Here's Mrs. Berry. All right. And Mrs. Berry has a job where she collects these interesting items that people like to put in their house. So she helps design people's rooms, things like that. So what she does is her job title is interior designer. Now you have people like me who look at a room and go, it's fine. I'll put a poster of Star Wars up and I'll put a poster of the Broncos up and I'll be good. And I'll put a chair over here. But people like Mrs. Berry, they understand, okay, that doesn't look very good. So what they do is they buy different interesting things. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this little chair. Let's say that she found this very fancy chair. Let's pretend that's a fancy chair. It doesn't look all that fancy. It actually looks like a creepy alien. But let's say she found this chair. And this chair, she went out to a company that makes these chairs and said, oh, you know what? I'll take some of these chairs. And she bought the chair for $50. Because then she knows some people who ask her for her advice would like this chair in their room. And then let's say she has a customer come in and he goes, you know what? This chair looks pretty cool. I would like that chair, please. And Mrs. Berry goes, okay, that'll be $50. So if Mrs. Berry bought this chair from somewhere for $50 and then gave it to this guy who's looking to decorate his room for $50, what does that leave Mrs. Berry with? Well, Mrs. Berry sold it for $50, so now she's sad. And she now has $0. And Mr. Berry over here is also sad. And Jade, our cat, you'd think would be sad, but she doesn't care because she's a cat, so she's still happy. But as you can see, if someone has a job where they're selling things, Mrs. Berry's job is to have these interesting items that she can sell to people working on decorating their house. But if she sells for the same thing she bought it for, she ends up with $0, and we get very sad. So that's sort of what we're going to be talking about today. The reason for these markups and markdowns is Mrs. Berry has a job where she's an interior designer. She needs to sell this chair at a different price to be able to make some money in her job. So let's go ahead and take a look at our standard for today. And our standard is going to be 7.RP.3. Now, yesterday I know you were working on the second standard in this, ratios and proportions 0.2. I believe it was 0.2b, maybe 0.2d, one of those two. But today we're going to be doing 7.RP.3. And what 7.RP.3 states is use proportional relationships. Use proportional relationships to solve multi-step ratio and percent problems. Now, that's all the standard says. Now, I'll give some examples. You do not need to write these examples down, but I'm going to go ahead and write each of the examples so you can sort of see where these where all of this information comes from. So what the standard says is to use proportional relationships. Now we know what proportional means. Proportional relationships to solve multi-step. So that means these are going to be complex problems, multi-step ratio and percent problems, where we're changing one thing, bringing it back somewhere else, and we'll get into that in a second. Now, some of the examples, I'll only write this down if you want to, are simple interest, tax, and then here we go, markups and markdowns. So you can see exactly what we're focusing on, the markups and markdowns. We also have gratuities, which is like a tip, and commissions, fees, percent increase, and decrease, and percent error. Right, so those are the examples they give of these proportional relationships that we're going to be using. So we're using proportional relationships, and we're solving multi-step ratio and percent problems. Okay, now the examples you can see, the example we're focusing on right here is the markups and markdowns. That's the title of our lesson today, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into our input. We're going to start off with a little bit of our language of the discipline. Now we just have two of them, and it should be pretty clear what these two are going to be. Our first one is going to be, well, what is a markup? What is a markup? And a markup is the amount of increase from the cost to the selling price. So the amount of increase from the cost to the selling price. Now, Ms. Berry up here needs to sell her chair for more than $50. So she needs to mark up that chair by something so that she can make some money. If she doesn't make any money on it, well, she's not going to be able to have that job very long. So the markup is the amount of increase from the cost to the selling price. This would be the cost. She would need to change that selling price so she would get some money. Okay, so the amount of increase from the cost to the selling price. But that's not all, because you can also talk about this as a percent. The markup as a percent increase of the original cost is called the percent markup. And I'm going to go ahead and underline this too, because this is almost its own term. The percent markup. So it's great to know how much you're marking up something, but you also want to know what is the percent you're marking something up. So maybe the markup is 15%. So your selling price is going to be 15% higher than your purchase price, your original price. Okay, the second language of the discipline, surprise, surprise, is going to be markdown. Everybody loves when you see markdowns. So the markdown is the amount of decrease from the selling price to the sale price. We all love the sales. If you see a sale happening, you're very happy to go into that store. And then the markdown as a percent decrease of the original price is called and I'm going to go ahead and use this because it could be another term, the percent markdown. So there we go. That's our language of the discipline for today. We're talking about our markup and understanding what a markup is, and our markdown and understanding what a markdown is. And we're also going to be making sure that we see what the percent markup and percent markdown are. Okay, let's go ahead and get into our actual details here. And we have a few formulas that we're going to want to remember anytime we're doing something like this. So there's our flower to give us our details. And also, make sure that you have two different colors to use for this. So I'm going to go ahead and use orange and blue because why not? Okay, so for our input, there are two things we're going to want to talk about. First of all is how to find that markup and how to find that markdown. Actually, go ahead and find yourself, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors. Let's go with 4 different colors. Make sure they're different if you have them. If you don't, that's fine. You can just make sure that you remember them. So I'm going to go with these 4 colors, okay? Because we're actually going to be breaking this down into different pieces. So let's start. I'm going to go with blue. And blue is going to be where I write my markup or markdown. So on one side, I'm going to start with the markup. How to find the markup. And the markup equals, okay, so this is going to be my markup markdown color. I'm going to go ahead and go with orange for the selling price. Is the selling price minus and green is going to be my cost. Okay, so that's how to find the basic markup. This is not the percent, this is just the markup. To find how much more something is than the selling price, it's going to, or how much more something is than the cost, I'm sorry, is you find what the selling price is, you subtract the cost to find the markup. And since this is an equation, we can plug in whatever we know, solve for whatever we don't know, and get our answer. Now let's figure out how we find the percent. To find the percent, my last color is going to be percent. So pink is going to be where I do my percent. Percent markup. To find your percent markup, what percentage you are marking something up. The percent markup equals the actual markup over the cost. Okay, so on the markup side, we have 2 different equations we're going to want to remember. How to find the markup, selling price and cost, also how to find the percent markup with using the markup and cost. So using these 2 equations, we can take whatever we find from one of these problems and solve it. Okay, separate this down the middle. Then we find out how we do the markdown. And the markdown is going to equal the selling price once again minus, and in this case, we're not going to have the cost. We're going to have the sale price. And we have the sale price for subtracting. Okay, and then to find the percent markdown, almost used the wrong color. There we go. To find the percent markdown, we divide by putting the markdown over, and in this case, we are doing the selling price. So there we go. Those are our two different ways to find markups, markdowns, percent markups, percent markdowns. Okay, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and just put a basic example of both of these. What if we had to just do the very basic and find either a markup or a markdown? So this is going to be somewhat modeling, somewhat input. I'm just going to go ahead and write modeling here. Okay, so let's start with markup. I'm going to give a simple situation, and then we're going to solve it in 2 steps to find all the different pieces. So let's say the problem for this markup is that the original cost of a shirt is $16, and a store is selling it for $28. So based on just that information, we're going to have enough to be able to find out what the markup is, what the percent markup is, what our selling price is. Oh, I think we just froze. Hang on. Everyone hang in there. We'll figure this out, don't you worry. Okay, here we go. Wish us all luck. Now I'm frozen. Okay, hang in there one more time. We'll get this figured out, no problem. And plug it back in. And time to get back to math. No. There we go. All right. Nice little break. Fun times. Let me zoom back in. Oh, too far. Okay. Whew, that was terrifying. Okay. So now we have the original cost of a shirt is $16. The store is selling it for $28. Let's find all the different pieces here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to step 1. And in step 1, we're going to go ahead and look at the markup. So for step 1, the markup is 28, right? Because 28 is our selling price minus our cost, which is $16. Oh, there we go. So we have our selling price minus our cost, and when you subtract the cost from the selling price, what it leaves you with is the markup. Wonderful. So the markup is going to be $12. So the store, whatever store this was, bought their shirts for $16, selling them for $28. So the markup is $12. They're selling for $12 more than they bought them. Okay, now that's a pretty simple one. That's just a subtraction problem. You can even add from 16 to 28, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and you can figure out that. Well, let's go to the more difficult part now, which is step 2, which is when we start to figure out our percentage, the percent markdown. So the percent markdown, markup, is, all right, now let's look. What we have to do to find the percent markup is we have to put the markup over the cost. Well, we know the markup now, and we know the cost. So we're just doing 12, which is the markup, over 16, which is the cost. Oh, that's not that difficult. Two numbers, plug it in. Let's just simplify. We can simplify that to 3/4, which means we can't have that as a percentage. We need to just turn that into a decimal, which is going to be 0.75. And to make it a percent, we just move it over. So the percent markup, they are marking it up by 75%, which I think is a little steep. But that's what they are marking it up. So the shirts in the store are being marked up 75% from their original price. Okay, let's go and do a markdown. I think I have enough room down here to get a markdown. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it'll be perfect. It'll look so nice. Okay, markdown. So for a markdown, we have the same thing. Let me write up something. Let's say a shirt that was originally 28. A shirt that was originally $28 is on sale for $21. Okay, so again, just a basic question. The questions you're going to get on the homework and all that, it's going to be a lot more complicated. But here we're just worrying about the basic facts, understanding how to do each of these. So let's start with step 1. Right there. To find the markdown, it's simple. The markdown is, well, let's look back up here. What do we need for the markdown? Selling price minus sale price. Okay, well, we have both of those. So let's go ahead and find the selling price, which is $28, minus the sale price, which is $21. Simple, just a subtraction problem. That's going to give us $7. So the markdown is $7. You're getting $7 off that shirt. That's not bad at all. Okay, now to step 2. Okay, step 2. Now, the more difficult part is to find the percent markdown. So here we go. The percent markdown is, well, what do we need to know for the percent markdown? Markdown over the selling price. Okay, well, we know what the markdown is now, which is 7, over the selling price, which is 28. Not the sale price, the selling price. That would equal 1/4, which is still not a percentage, so we can't stop there. That equals 0.25, which, if we move the decimal point over 2, which, remember from DIP, is 25%, meaning that shirt is on sale 25% off. You're saving $7 there. Okay, so that's a basic, simple example of each, the way to use each. As you can see, you just need to plug in whatever numbers you get. You just plug them in until you find the thing you need. So let's take a look at a much more complicated one, something that you might see. And I'm going to definitely have to switch my page now. But we're into our modeling now, and I'm going to go ahead and do a much more complex question where you're going to get a situation and you need to solve the problem. So this is going to be our modeling. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write out a question for us. The question is, Mrs. Berry gives her customers a sale on lamps. She has in stock that were originally $15. She offers them at a 35% discount. If Mrs. Berry purchased the lamps for $8.50, would she still make a profit? How much? Okay, so here's an example of a question you will see. This one's much more complicated than what we were doing before, where it's just, okay, here's the cost, here's the sale price, find the percent. Now you're taking a situation. You have to actually think critically about this situation. And this is what you're going to see a lot. So this is what we want to make sure we know. So let's look at all the different pieces of this question, okay? We need to pull out what we already know. Mrs. Berry gives her customers a sale. So we're going to be talking about a sale, okay? On lamps she has in stock that were originally $15. So the selling price, the original selling price, not the sale price, the original selling price is $15. She's offering them at a 35% discount. Well, I know 35% is something. Is that a mark up or a mark down? Well, because it's a discount, that's going to be a mark down. She's marking them down at 35%. If Ms. Berry purchased the lamps for $8.50, now this is the wholesale. So this is the cost of them, right? $8.50 Mrs. Berry got them for. She was selling them at $15. So she had marked them up. Now she's marking these down. See how all this can get very complicated. So we want to make sure we take our time with this. Now, the main question is, would she still make a profit? Is she going to make money on this? And if she does, how much will she make? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we know. What is it that we know? So on this side over here, I'm just going to go ahead and write know. What is it that we know? Well, the first thing we know is the cost for Mrs. Berry. Let's say that she has no lamps right now. Mrs. Berry has no lamps. Let's go through this sort of as a story in chronological order. Mrs. Berry, first thing she did to get the lamps was she had to buy the lamps for $8.50. So the cost for Mrs. Berry, we know that. And the cost for Mrs. Berry is $8.50. So each of those lamps cost her $8.50. What else do we know? Well, if we look up here, we can see that she was selling them. Initially, she was selling them for $15. So we know the selling price to the customer, which is $15. But we also know a little bit more. What else do we know? Well, we know that there is a markdown. And it's not a number markdown, it's a percent markdown. So we know the percent markdown. The percent markdown is 35%. All right. Now, we also want to know, what do we need? So we have what we know. We have the numbers we know, this, and this. What do we need to solve this question? What do we need to solve this problem? Well, we don't know what the sale price is. She was selling them for $15. She marked them down for 35%, but we don't know what that price was. So we need to know the sale price. We don't know that yet. We also need to know the actual markdown in dollars. Right now we have 35% markdown, but I can't do anything with that right now. So we need to know the actual markdown. We also need to know what? Well, we actually need to know the profit. And what would the profit actually be in this case? Well, the profit would be the markup. After the sale price, what would the markup be from her actual purchase price? What would that markup be? If it's 0 or less, that means she's not making any money. If it's more, if her sale price is still over $8.50, then we know, okay, she's still making money. So we need to know the profit or the markup. Okay, so we have three things. We need three things. So let's go ahead and go through this step by step and solve. Let's start with our step one. What would be step one? So let's think about what would be the most beneficial thing to start with. We need to solve these three. We have these three. Well, so I have the cost, I have the selling price, and I have the percent markdown. What's something easy I can find first? Well, we have the percent markdown. Let's find what that actually is. Let's find the markdown. We need to find what the markdown is. So we're going to go ahead and look for this first. Find the markdown. Okay, so to find the markdown, let's go ahead and bring in the other piece of paper that has our information on it. To find the markdown of something, oh, there you go. The markdown of something, we need the selling price minus the sale price. So we don't have the sale price yet. But look at this. We do know the percent markdown. We don't know the markdown, but we do know the selling price. So look at that. We can use this equation right here to solve this. So let's go ahead and write out the way we need it. We need the percent markdown equals the markdown over the selling price. Okay, now I also want to make sure the one thing we don't know right now is the markdown. So I want that by itself. What's an easy way to get that by itself? Well, since this is on the bottom, let's just go ahead and multiply, different color again, multiply all of this by the selling price over 1. That will cross out our selling price. And I'll do the same thing over here. Multiply this by the selling price. Okay, so now we have a much easier thing to plug in because the thing we are missing is going to be a loan. So the new thing we have, our new equation, is going to be markdown. We'll put the one we want to find by itself. The markdown equals selling price times percent markdown. Times percent markdown. Now let's just fill in the numbers we know. So what is the selling price? Well, the selling price was $15. So let's plug that in. 15 times the percent markdown, which is 35%. But I can't put 35% in a multiplication problem. I just need to convert this to, if I use dip percent to decimal, it's going to be 0.35. So to find our markdown, we're going to multiply 15 by 0.35. Luckily, I know I can always go over here on the side and multiply things. 15 times 0.35. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 1. Plus 2 is 7. Yes, there we go. Oh, hang on. I think I did this wrong. Oh, no. Okay, we're good. I almost confused myself. Okay, then we drop a 0 right here. 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 1 is 1, or 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 0. And 4 plus 1 is 5. Now, we add up our decimals, move it over, and look at that. Our answer to our markdown, what is our markdown? Our markdown is going to be $5.25. So that's our markdown. Ooh, okay, so that was step 1. Now we know the markdown. And what is the markdown? The markdown is $5.25. Great. Okay, let's go to step 2. What else do we need to find? We also need to find the sale price. And we can find the sale price now because we found the markdown. So this one's going to be pretty simple. To find the sale price, let's look at what we have over here. To find the sale price, we need to use this equation, right? So let's go ahead and fill that in. The sale price is going to be what it's selling for minus its markdown. Okay, so we have our next equation. Let's just go ahead and plug things in. We don't know the sale price, but we do know the selling price, which is 15, minus 5.25, which is going to give us $9.75. Okay, now we found the sale price. $9.75. And the final thing, now that we have that sale price, now we can finally calculate our profit or our markup. To find the markup, let's use a different color again. We'll use this one. Step 3, find the markup, which in this case is also going to be the profit. How much more is our sale price than our initial original price that Mrs. Berry bought them for? So to find the markup, we just follow our equation, selling price minus cost. So where's the selling price, which is now the sale price, $9.75, minus the cost, which is, what did Mrs. Berry initially buy them for? $8.50. So the markup is actually going to be $1.25. So we found that. Now we've found everything we need. Now, the final question. Would she make a profit, and if so, how much? Well, she would make $1.25 a profit on each of her sales. So, yes, Mrs. Berry would make a profit of $1.25 on each lamp. Okay, whew, we got to the end. Now look, that is a complex problem. We needed to come up with what we needed to find, and we needed to find ways using those equations to get to what we needed. But finally we got there, $1.25. Yes, she's making a profit. So when you're doing these problems, please make sure you're taking your time, you're thinking about them, and understanding how you can best approach it. Okay, for today, our guided practice is going to be the lesson 9-6 guided practice. And our independent practice I'll actually switch. I know on our packet for the week it says create 3, but let's just say create 1 markup problem and 1 markdown problem and solve. So you're going to go ahead and create your own, just like I made this one up about Mrs. Berry. You can make one up yourself, 1 markup and 1 markdown problem, and solve them on your own after you've done your guided practice. Okay, that's everything for today. I hope you have a wonderful day and good luck.